Good evening, everybody. I'm just going to give it a couple seconds for people to join. If you can just let me know in the comments if you can hear me. I do apologize if you can hear the fan. It will be sorted soonest. I see some people are joining. I do apologize. It's a bit windy in Durban and the door is opening and closing. We had this before. Okay, I see that you can hear me. That's great. So tonight we're going to be doing a beginner's class, and we're going to be doing Design Space 101, tips, tricks, and how-tos. This is for anybody who's a beginner, or if you are somebody that's been using Design Space for a while and you're battling with the new update, hopefully this will help you to feel a bit more comfortable with it. So because it's a beginner's class, we're going to be going over some very basic concepts, but I hope that it will be helpful. If I am moving too fast or you have any questions, please do leave them in the comments. If I don't get to it, then one of the lovely admins definitely will. If you are watching back on the recording, then you can also leave your questions in the comments. We do go back and try and answer as many of them as possible. And while we are waiting for everybody, so I see Judy said hello and Happy New Year. So I did not say it. Happy New Year, everybody. This is my first class of 2026 and I'm very excited for it. So while we're waiting for everybody to join, I will be doing next week's class as well. And I just wanted to get some insights from everybody. I see a lot of people are battling with the sticker feature. So if you would like to drop your suggestion in the comments, would you like to do a sticker class where we look at printing, cut, and stickers? Or would you like to maybe go the party route and we do a cake topper? So we have done a cake topper class before. I think we did lose it with the whole Facebook change though. So you can leave those suggestions in the comments. I will keep an eye on it. As always, this class is proudly sponsored by Cricut and Logitech, and let's jump into it. Okay, so we're going to start on our Design Space homepage, and one of the first changes with Design Space is when you click on New Project, you've now got blank canvas, vinyl decal, iron-on t-shirt, and gift tag. So before we jump into that, I just wanted to talk about the changes a little bit. I know it's very difficult, especially if you are more of a seasoned user, to now have to get used to these changes. Cricut is a multinational company, so their market is worldwide and they take thousands and thousands, probably millions of suggestions from users. And one of the things that came up was that new users found Design Space to be overwhelming. So that is the reason for a lot of these changes, is that visually it is not so overwhelming, and it is easier for people to work with. So I know as people that have been working on it for a long time, this can be very difficult to get used to, but you will get used to it. Okay, so under new project, you can choose blank canvas, vinyl decal, iron-on t-shirt, or gift tag. So I always suggest going with blank canvas, and the reason for this is because, let's say your iron-on t-shirt, if you choose that, you will not have some of the features. So you won't be able to do print and cut because it is an iron-on t-shirt. I'm not sure what all of them are exactly because I haven't explored it too much, but just obviously be aware there are some limitations if you choose the different ones. So we're going to go with blank canvas. Before we go into this, sorry, I keep jumping around. If you are an absolute beginner, you will see on your home page here you have beginner projects, and these are very easy projects that you can do. And there's also how-tos. So the how-tos are very useful. You can find lots of information on all the different features of Design Space, materials, etc. Okay, so we're going to say blank canvas. As you can see, I already had something open, and this is what we're going to be making. Okay, so we have a blank canvas. As you can see, my top bar is completely clear, which is obviously what is confusing everybody, and it's completely understandable because when you've learned to do something a certain way, the change can be quite daunting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to insert a basic shape just so that we can have a look at some of the features. You can see I've got my basic shape, and I now have some options that have opened up on top. So I have my operations. Now your operations will be dependent on what machine you've selected. So if we click in the top corner here, or we just scroll over it, you can see I have the Maker 4 selected. If I chose, let's say, the Cricut Joy, I would not be able to do print then cut, engraving, debossing, scoring, perforate, or wavy. So this list would be a lot shorter. So if you have a Maker 4, this is what you should be seeing. If you have a different machine, you will have different options. So this is where you can choose what you want to do with your materials. So if you want to cut it out of vinyl, you're obviously going to choose basic cuts. If you want to do print then cut, you would choose print then cut. If you wanted to draw it, you would choose pen. So you can see it changes it. We're going to just keep it on basic cut for now. Next to that, you've then got your sizing. So this is obviously where you're going to change it. If you want to be able to change your height and your width independently, you're going to unlock it in the middle. That's going to open up your proportions for you. So I'm just going to lock that for a second, and I am just going to show you another way to do it. So you can see that there are now little, I don't know what they're called, dragging pieces on the side of your shape. You can actually drag it on the side, and that automatically unlocks your proportions. Don't be afraid to play with all of the different features, sort of figure out how things work. If you make a mistake, you're working on the laptop, just press Control Z and it will go back to its previous state. So you can also arrange. Currently I only have one layer on my canvas, so arrange, you can see all of the options are grayed out. If your options are grayed out, it means that you can't use them with your current selection. So you can see here, okay, so this is your flip horizontal and vertical, and then you can see here we've got our layers panel, and this is going to tell us what we have on our canvas, and I will just show you shortly how to know how many layers are in something. So the thing that is tripping up a lot of people is the little edit tool. So all of the features that used to be sort of thrown all over the top bar are now hidden under your edit tool. What is shown here will only be what you can use for your current selection. So it does make it simpler. You now have only the options you can use. You don't have every single option showing at the exact same time and then getting frustrated because half of it's grayed out. It doesn't want to work. So if we wanted to do an offset, we would do it here. It works the same way as it always has. So offsets are great if you want to create a sticker and you don't want to use the sticker feature. So Caroline taught us about the sticker feature last week. And one thing to be aware of with the sticker feature, and it's something we've been getting a lot of questions with, is that kiss cut and die cut do not determine your cut settings. So what die cut does is it creates a double line around the outside of your sticker, so it cuts twice, whereas kiss cut will only cut once. If the setting that you choose is too high for your material, even cutting only once is going to cut through the backing. So something to be aware of. Okay, so if we apply offset, so you can choose if you want sharp corners, you want rounded corners, we can apply our offset. You can see I now have two separate layers. You can change the color of your offset. Remember, if you have 5 different colors on your mat or on your canvas, when you say make it, you're going to have 5 different mats. So if you want to separate the layers and you want them to cut on different mats, you would just need to make them different colors. Okay, so if we drag around both, oopsie, I pressed the wrong thing. We drag around both, you can see in our layers panel, I now have selected both of them. You can see that there's a lot more options that have opened up for us. So the ones that I use the most is slice and weld, but you've also got unite, subtract, intersect, and exclude. So you can see on the pictures exactly what they do. Subtract takes away part of it, intersect, wherever it covers each other, it stays there, exclude, wherever it covers each other, it takes it away, basically. So those are nice to play with. You can just play around with them, see what they do. What Weld does is it is going to take multiple objects and it's going to make them into one single object. So for instance, if I welded this, you can see on the side I only have one item and the other one has sort of disappeared because I've welded it. So let's just say Control Z so we can get it back. Slicing, what that does is it takes one object and it slices it out of another object. So in some programs you have crop. The thing with crop is that you can sort of you can cut the height and you can cut the width, but it doesn't give you the option to sort of crop in the middle of something. So let me show you. If we click slice, I can create a frame. So it gives you a lot more that you can do with it, basically. So that's something that I play with often. One thing to remember though, and I'm just going to show you. So now we have 3 items. You can see that my slice has disappeared. So in order to use slice, you can only use 2 layers. So there, our slice is back. So they're all very simple, very basic. Most of the things are exactly where they always were. It's just that the stuff is kind of hidden now so that the canvas is not overwhelming and there's not confusion between what functions you can use for your current selection and what you can't use. So it's very, very simple. I see Chantal said, is it blurry? It looks good on my side. If anybody else can just confirm. Yes, so Zelda did make a good point on the sticker maker feature. If you use that, the only cut settings you will be able to use is printable cut settings. So it's going to be your printable vinyls, your printable transfer for light and dark fabrics. You can do, I think, cardstock. So anything that can be printed on, that's what you would have available to you. So it does also limit you in that regard. Okay, so I'm going to carry on. If anybody can just let me know if it is blurry. It looks fine on my side. I'm not seeing any issue. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to start designing a water bottle. And while we're doing that, we're going to go over some more ways to use the different functions. Okay, so there is something here that is called layouts. So you can use this to create layouts. My suggestion though, specifically with the t-shirts and the baby bodysuits, etc., is not to use them. And the reason for that is if you have a t-shirt, the sizing that is on this template may not specifically be the sizing of yours. So it's better to actually measure your item and create your own guide, which I will show you how to do. So the one that you can use is your cutaway cards. These are specifically designed with Cricut cutaway cards in mind. So those are very, very helpful. And I think the mug is also set up specifically with Cricut materials in mind. Okay, so another thing that we often suggest that people do, and I do hope this is going to show up for you, is to switch between live and the beta version. So you can see in the corner here, I am currently on the beta version, and that is basically the version where Cricut will release new features and updates first, and it will be tested by a smaller audience. Once they have stabilized those upgrades and bug fixes, they will then release that onto the live version. So if you like to test out new features, then this is a really fun version to work on. I actually started testing the new canvas probably about 5 months ago. Don't hold me to that. So I'm quite used to it now. Another thing that is helpful with it is if the live version has any type of issue, if there's an issue with printing cut or something's not working the way that it should, then it usually is not present in the beta version because they are two completely different versions. You're still working on the same interface, it's just two completely different versions of that. So to get to that, what you would do is you would click on your name, oopsie, not profile. You're going to click on settings. Can we see that? Just checking. I don't know if you can see the screen. So there is a bit of a lag between what I can see on my screen and what you can see. So I don't know. I think we're still getting there. Okay. So if you can't see, then I will just okay, you can see it. Wonderful. Okay, so this is your Design Space settings, and you can see here that there is application experience. You can choose between beta and live. I'm not going to change it because what will happen is if you click on live, it will do an update and then it will push you into that experience. So I'm not going to do that now. Another thing is if your design space is unusually slow, if you're really battling with it, you can actually go under System, and this will show you what your system resources is. And this is very important. So Design Space has a minimum system requirements, which you can see at the top, and you can click on it and you can look at them. And let's say, for instance, the minimum requirements is 4 gigs of physical memory, and I only have 3 gigs free. That is going to cause issues. So what you would do in that instance is clean up your computer, get rid of files that you're not using, clear your Design Space cache, just get rid of whatever you're not using, close any windows that are not being used at that moment. All of those things can help to speed up your experience. Okay, so let's go back to our canvas. Okay, so we're going to be designing a water bottle. We're going to be doing a little multi-layer decal, and I'm going to be showing you how to transfer the vinyl. So a lot of people have been battling with transferring, especially smart vinyl. So I will show you how to do that, and then we'll also look at the wet method. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go under images. So one of the questions I had today was, how do you find print and cut images specifically? So here you've got a little filter. You can click on it and you can actually filter your images to whatever it is that you want to do. So if we are doing basic cut, you can filter it so it's only showing you images that are applicable to that. If you want to draw, so you're doing a card, you would click on draw. If you want to cut and draw, you would do that, and obviously print and cut. There's also a lot of other things that you can do here. There's crafting complexity, which is quite nice. That's a new feature. There's also image types, so editable images. Those are great for beginners, so I will just show you them quickly. So you can see an editable image is like this one specifically. Where you see this blue writing, I can just double click on that and I can write whatever I want to. Super simple. Okay, I shouldn't have moved it or that, but it's fine. So these are a great way to do a very quick project, especially if you're not feeling too confident yet. It's a nice way to get your confidence up. So these are your filters. We're not going to be using them right now, but if you do need to find something, that makes it a lot easier. So we're going to be looking for daisies. And I just scrolled through. I really like these ones. So when we move over to desk view, I will just show you how I measured my bottle. And I know a lot of people want to have it a very specific way. They want to know what is the norm or what is the standard sizing. I don't work that way. I kind of go by I kind of guess what looks good, and I've gone through a lot of trial and error, so I just eye it now. There are some very simple rules that I follow, and I will just show you what those are. Okay, so I know that I want it to be a maximum of 7.2 width. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a shape. It's going to be a square. I'm going to unlock it. My width is going to be 7.2. And then my height is going to be 8. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this from basic cut to guide. So remember I said I was going to show you how to create your own guide. I do this for every single one of my projects. It helps me to get a visual idea of what the decal is going to look like on my final item. So if I'm making a shirt, I measure the whole width of the shirt, and then I sort of put my decal into it, size it to what I think looks good, and then I'll cut it. So I always get the perfect size decal, which is great. And for me, visually, while designing, it's very helpful. Okay, so if you look on the side, you can see I've got a little arrow here. That means that there are multiple layers within my image. So if I click on that, it will show me that I have 5 layers in this one image. So I'm going to size it down. And this is going to be very important in a second. We can zoom in so that it's easier to see. And we just want to send this to the back. So you can see what's happening. My square is on top and my daisies are below that. So when I try and click on the daisies, I'm actually clicking on the square because it's above it. So that's how your layers work. We can just click on it, right click, and say send to back. Now it's at the back, it's going to be easier for me to grab my daisies. So I just want to size those up. If you want to change the colors, you can. So I'm using mint, mint, pink, and blue, I think. If you, let's say, only had 3 colors of vinyl, you had one color for your daisies, you had the yellow for the center, and you had the black for the outside, what you could do is you could click on material color, and you can actually drag these into each other, and they will automatically change. So this is very helpful when you're working on a very big project, and you've suddenly got 6 different pinks, and they all look so similar that you can't figure out which ones need to be changed. You can literally just drag them into each other. Okay, so let's undo that. Let's redo that. Okay, I'm just going to size that down slightly. Now what I want to do is I actually want to have a name through it. So I'm going to click on text. And I'm going to put Riley. Okay, so now if I wanted to write this with a pen, I would change this to pen. And you can see that it's got a double line around the outside. How you see it on your canvas is exactly how your machine is either going to cut or draw it. So here you can change your pen color. You can choose what type of pen you're using. So let's say we're using a marker and it's going to be a black marker. It gives you a visual representation of what it would look like. One of the questions we get a lot is how do we make it so it's not a double line? So you're going to click on your font so that you can change it. Give it a second to load. And then here you've got a filter again. So if you click on your filter, you can actually go to writing. And that's probably one of the only filters that I use on this. So let's have a look and see. Let's choose Dear John. Looks like it is just that. Let's keep it on Cricut Sans. And let's have a look. So here next to your font you have regular. You can actually go down and change this to writing. Now you can see it is a single line, and that's exactly how it's going to write. So if you're going to be using a pen and you want to get that single single line, that's how you would do it. Okay, so let's go back. Now we're going to choose our font for this. So we're going to unclick that. Remember, once you've added a filter, you actually have to go back and take that filter off. You can see at the top we've got a whole bunch of different categories that you can choose. I think I kind of know what I want to use. I just want a pretty flowy one. What's everyone's favorite fonts? I have a few favorite. I love all the flowy ones. They're very pretty. Okay, so I'm going to be using this font. So another thing you can do is, I was going to duplicate it, but it's fine. Another thing you can do is if you're using something that is, okay, let's duplicate it. If you're using something that is super thin and flowy, let's say for instance this Culinary, which is a beautiful font. Oh yeah, let's go with the Embassy. So you can see the difference in the thickness. Now, if you are doing this, and bear in mind, I am zoomed in 200%. So if you are doing this very small, what will happen is where these super thin lines are, your machine will literally just cut a slit in the vinyl. And that's because there is nothing to give it bulkiness, if you will. So what you can do to counteract that is you can actually say edit, you can go down to your offset, you can change it. So you obviously don't want to change the definition of your font, you just want to give it a little bit of thickness so that it's easier for it to cut. So you can go between 0.015 and 0.018. So you can obviously push it further in some instances with some fonts, but these are the ones that I've found work for me. So let's say apply. Let's go back to our layers. So you can see now the difference in the thickness. This one is going to be a lot easier for me to cut than this one would be. So what I would do is I would delete this and I would cut my offset instead. We don't need to do that, obviously. We're just going to be using a thicker font. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on edit, and under rotate I'm going to type in 90 degrees. I want it to be the opposite way, so we're going to go with 270 degrees. So that is a very easy way to flip it if, like me, you don't like messing with it constantly. Another thing you can do is you can hold down the shift key and it will actually turn by very specific degrees, so you will sort of get that straight line easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to place it over there. I'm going to grab everything and I'm going to say align center horizontally. I actually do want the name to be slightly up, so I'm going to go with that. Okay, now we're going to add an offset to our name. So remember I said that it was going to be very important to take note of how many different layers we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different layers, which means that we are going to have to slice these flowers 5 times to be able to get a hole in it that our name is going to fit into. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to add an offset. I'm going to go with, let's say, 0.1 and then have a look. I think that's good. And then I'm going to do that 5 times. So the reason I don't just duplicate the offset is that it's easier for me to add another offset and know that it's going to be in exactly the same place than it is for me to duplicate a line, move things around. So we're just going to apply 5 offsets. And I'm just making sure that I'm going back to the original name every time. Okay, so I have 5 offsets and I'm now able to start using those offsets to slice the layers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the bottom. So you can see I've held down the shift key, I've selected 1 offset and 1 layer from my flower, and then I'm going to say slice. Then I can get rid of, you can see it's changed to slice results. I can get rid of all of these ones with the name because I don't want them. You can see these are still offset, so I'm now going to work on my second layer, and I'm going to say slice. So I don't want this slice result, I don't want that one, but I do want to keep this one because you can see it is part of the flower that we need. So we're going to go again. So I'm not sure if you can see what's happening. The reason I started at the very bottom is because whichever layer you start on, that one is going to jump to the top. So if I start at the bottom, then by the time I'm done with slicing everything, it will all be in the correct order. That's the word. Okay, so let's slice. And you can see at the bottom here, it still has some of the functions like the previous version did. I feel like I missed something. I'm sure I'll watch back on the video and realize what it was that I missed and why I have an extra offset. I don't think I missed anything. Okay, so now that is my decal done, nice and simple. You can see that you can, there's a space around the name, so it's easier for you to actually see the name. It's not blending in, and it's not sitting on top of anything. So that's very important when you're working with vinyl. Wherever it overlaps, you're going to see that it's overlapping. So if the name is going over a petal, there's going to be a little bump where the petal ends. So if I have to make it as it is right now, I will just show you so you can see. Let's save it. I'm just going to save it as bottle. Okay, so you can choose on mat, without mat, or on card mat. If you were doing a card, you would obviously choose on card mat. If you're using smart materials without your mat, you would use that option, and on mat is obviously on mat. So we're going to be using that. You can then choose 30.5 by 30.5, which is your standard size mat, or you can choose the longer mat if you have one. So just be very careful. Do not click this. This will take this option away going forward, and you will have to manually change each of your mats. Okay, so let's say confirm. Now you can see what's happened is my name is sort of out of there, which means I'm going to have to transfer that twice. So to stop that from happening, there's two different things that we can do. Either we can weld it, and then it will permanently be a part of, or it will permanently be one item. Or what we can do is we can attach it. So if I select both of these, you can see I've got attach, flatten, and then where's my weld? My weld's under edit. So here I have weld, flatten, and over here I have attach. So where would I use the different things? If I am doing print then cut, that's when I would use flatten. There is no other time that you are going to use flatten. If I never wanted to change it, so I'm happy with the name, I'm happy with the flowers, nothing's going to change, and in this instance it is that, then I would weld it. So it's going to take both of my layers, it's going to make it into one single layer, and going forward that's what it'll be. If you want to be able to change it later, or you want to use multiple functions together on one mat, so that means you want to cut something, you want to draw with a pen, and you want to score. That's when you would use attach. So attaching takes multiple functions and it makes it work together on one mat. So I can use either of these in this instance because nothing is overlapping anything else. So I'm just going to go with weld. and then we're going to send it to the back just so that our decal looks pretty. So one thing I do just want to show you with attach, let's take another 2 shapes. Okay, so we're going to change the color of this, and we're going to change the color of this. And we're just going to stick this inside like this. So if I take both of these and I say weld, oopsie, let's get it back on our screen, you can see that it is one layer. You cannot see the other shape inside of it anymore. Let's say Control Z, and let's just bring it onto our screen so we can see. Now if I attach those, you can see that it is still 2 layers. You can still see the other shape inside of it. So if I went to cut like this, what would happen is my machine would cut around the outside and then it would cut around the inside. Because it has not made this into one single item, it has just taken 2 items and said, okay, you want me to keep these together so that when we go to the mat, this is exactly how I'm going to cut it. So maybe an easy way to make what do you call these things? Frames, but it is mainly used for using multiple functions together on the same mat. So the nice thing about this guide, if I didn't share that, is that when you say make it, it will not cut, and that's why I specifically use a guide and I don't use just a shape, a basic cut shape. With this, I don't have to remember to now remove it. Okay, so now we're going to say make it. And we're going to say on mat. And you can see that I have everything ready. And all I have to do now is cut it. So these are super tiny. I could have gone up a little bit, and I think I will just go up slightly in size. So I'm just going to select everything, and then in my layers panel, I'm going to hold down shift and get rid of the guide. There we are. And then we're going to say make it. Okay, so you will notice that on your project copies here, you have material load type. So if you are not seeing your mat, you're only seeing the smart vinyl thing. So let me just show you without mat. This is what you would see. So if you're only seeing this and you don't know how to fix it, what you would do is you would just go on mat. If that option is not there, it means that your item is too big for your mat and you need to size it down. So remember, even though you have a 30.5 by 30.5 mat, your biggest decal size is 29.2 centimeters. Under that, you've also got material size. So if you are using a specific material size, I specifically use A4 very often, you can change that here. And you'll see that it changes your available space. As you can see, I can't go past that. So that's really nice if you are using a specific type or size of material. Then the other thing you have is mirror, and you're only going to use this when you're doing iron-on. So unless you're doing iron-on or even cardstock, you don't have to worry about the mirror function. Okay, we're going to say continue, and I should put my maker on for this. So I was connected to my other machine today. There we are, we're connected. So if you are having problems connecting your machine, what can happen, and it happened to me yesterday, and that's how I figured it out, is when you come to the Make It screen, your Design Space has already sort of registered that you are not connected. So you're just going to keep clicking connect, 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 and it's going to tell you can't connect. You can actually just come and click on your machine here, and you can connect it that way. Otherwise, what you do is you cancel, you go back to your canvas, you connect your machine there first, and then you come back. Okay, we're going to say continue. And this is, I think, where everybody is battling a bit with their material cutting through. So I have gone through this before in terms of how to look at your cut settings and how to change them. So if you click on Browse All Materials, this is going to show you all of the materials that are compatible with your machine. At the bottom here, you will see Material Settings. If you click on it, it's going to open up all of the materials that your machine can cut. It's going to show you what the cut pressure is, and it's going to tell you if it's a multi-cut or not, as well as the blade type. So for those that have been struggling with their labels cutting all the way through, what you would do is you would look at what material you used. So let's say you used the adhesive foil. You would see that the cut pressure is 108, and then you could either go through and look for one that is a lower cut pressure, or you can create a custom cut pressure by going all the way to the bottom and saying add new material. I would not suggest changing your cut settings because these have been preloaded with specific materials in mind. So if you ever do need to change the cut setting, add a new material, name it custom, and work that way. Okay, so we're going to be working with Smart Vinyl Matless Permanent Vinyl. And you can see here I've got pressure. I can say more, less, or default. We're going to be working on default. And if you don't want to keep changing your material selection, and in this instance we don't want to because we're going to be using the same materials across the board, you would say remember material settings. Okay, so now we're going to get to cutting it. Okay, so I have my materials ready. I actually have some pre-cut from the first bottle that I did. I have a water bottle. The water bottle's upside down, not my screen. And I have some normal standard grip transfer tape. I also have some dust-free paper towel, very important. That is going to be for our wet method application. And I'm using a light grip mat. Because it is brand new, it is still very sticky. If it was not brand new, then I would be using a standard grip mat. Okay, so first we need to add in our black vinyl, and we need about 8 centimeters of that. So you can see on one side of your mat you have inches. Is it inches? I think it is. And on the other side you have centimeters. So we're going to be working on the centimeters, and we're just going to make sure we have enough. We do. And you can see on the maker, I don't have to put it right against the line. The machine actually starts cutting right at the bottom of these little lines. The one tool that I do suggest everybody invests in is a Cricut brayer. It is my favorite tool ever. It helps to secure your materials, and you will get a better cut. I do apologize. I have put you all a little bit too close to the machine and you may get bumped. So if you see me shaking, that's why. Okay, so while this is cutting, we'll talk a bit about the materials. So I'm obviously using Smart Vinyl. This is my personal preference in vinyl. I absolutely love it. Let me just take down a box so I can show you. So if you do not have a printer, you can't print then cut, and you still want to label your child's stuff for school, I have actually labeled a bottle from last year. I've put it through the dishwasher and it is still going strong. Important to note, vinyl is not food safe, so you should not be putting it in lunch boxes, around the rim of a mug, anywhere that it is going to come into contact with your mouth. You don't want to be doing that. Also important to note that everybody's dishwasher is different. The heat that your dishwasher reaches might be different to the heat that my dishwasher reaches. So yeah, just test it first, and if it works, then go ahead. If it doesn't, then obviously don't go ahead. So if we have a look on, I just want to pull this up and I want to see if I can show you. Where is it? There is actually something on it here. There we are, dishwasher friendly. I don't know if you can see that. There we are. No, that is blurry. So it is actually dishwasher friendly. And it's a great material for labeling kids' school bottles, their lunch boxes, and it's a lot harder for them to actually get that label off than it is for them to get one whole decal off. Okay, next we're going to be doing our yellow. And it just wants 5 centimeters. Okay, so that is smart vinyl. I also do find that smart vinyl is a little bit thicker than your normal permanent vinyls, which I think is great. One of the things that a lot of people are not enjoying about the smart vinyl is it is a little bit harder to transfer. But the upside of that is that it is harder to transfer because this backing acts as your mat. So the vinyl sticks to it better and you get a cleaner cut. So you get a gorgeous cut every time, obviously unless your decal is not suitable. So we're just going to weed this, and you can see that it's nice and easy to weed. I am just being gentle. And what I do suggest with your weeding is maneuver it. So when I pull it up, I can see that there's a piece that goes in, so I kind of just move it around so I'm not putting too much pressure. You can see that I kind of move it with the cuts, if that makes sense. And I'm being careful to sort of wrap it around my finger because I obviously don't want it to get stuck on anything and then pull it apart. Oops, let's stick that there. Sorry about that. Okay, next we're doing our green. It is very hot in Durban. I think we've had some crazy weather in South Africa as a whole, but Durban is extremely hot. And I'm telling you that because if I suddenly go quiet, I may not be with you in the live anymore. It's super, super hot. Okay, so I'm using the hooked weeding tool, and I just found this one a little bit easier. It's got a really thin, very sharp hook on it, and it makes it easier to pick up tiny little pieces. And I'm just going to carry on weeding away. It is getting stuck to me, but it's fine. So what I'm doing here is there is a little piece in the middle. So I am just holding it down with my finger, maneuvering up a piece, making sure that I don't pull the teeny tiny piece as I pull it up. And most times when you're doing it for yourself or for family members, you will notice that really teeny tiny piece of vinyl that came off. Nobody else will. You know what it was supposed to look like. Nobody else does. So always try and be gentle with yourself. I think I might have lost everyone in the comments because it was super quiet. I did. Lorraine Eagles. I'm very confused. So I did lose everybody in the comments. I was not ignoring everybody. None of my comments were showing. So I do apologize if there were any questions or I was moving too fast and I missed it. Oh, it's a person, Lorraine Eagles. My name's also Lorraine, so that's where the confusion came in. I was trying to figure that one out. Okay, so let's just make sure that we're not losing any bits. So I see there's some really bad storms that are predicted all over South Africa. So if you are hit by any of them, be safe, stay indoors and craft. I think that's the best thing to do during a storm. So we're just going to let that go. So this is our hardest one to weed because it does have a lot of little pieces. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm just using the piece of vinyl that I've already taken off to stick my little pieces on. So Kim did say when I was very confused that it's very helpful to cover your mat as soon as you're done with it, and that is 110% correct. And I will just show you once I'm done with my mat how to also make sure that it is adhered properly, the mat cover, because having air exposed to it really does lessen the life of it. So cover it as soon as possible. As Zelda mentioned, your mats are consumables. We do not recommend washing them. Take care of them, protect them, and then replace them once they're done. You will get the absolute best cut with a new mat. So one of the things that I always preach in my classes, and I'm surprised somebody hasn't said anything. Where is Susie? So one of the things that I always say is remove your material from your mat, not your remove your mat from your material, not your material from your mat. And I'll show you with this one what I mean by that. So you can see, very easy to weed, beautiful cut. Okay, so we're going to start getting this ready. Okay, so we have one more to weed, but that's fine. So I have my transfer tape, I have my dust-free cloth, I have my bottle. This is a solution of literally a drop, is it? I think this might just be water. So what you're going to do is you're going to mix literally a drop of sunlight liquid with water. You're going to stir it up. You're not going to shake it. And that is what you're going to use to do the wet method. Okay, so how do you remove your mat from your material, not your material from your mat? What you're going to do is you are going to, let's just put this over here. You're going to flip your mat upside down. It helps if you have your cover. Here it is. You're going to put it there. Okay, that's just so your mat doesn't get dirty. And then you're going to curl your mat away from the material like so. You can see that at no point did my material bend. The reason I wasn't too stressed about it is because I've worked with the smart vinyl and I know that it's quite reliable. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover our mat. We're going to line it up as much as possible. That wasn't very good. And then I'm going to take my brayer and I'm going to brayer it down. And that's going to get rid of any bubbles. And it's going to help my mat to last longer. Remember, there is also a right side to put your mat. So I have a little label from last year on the mat cover. And that helps me to know which is the right way up. Okay, so we're going to start doing our decal. Let me just, start putting it together. So you can see I had a piece that came up. I'm going to hold that down with my weeding tool, and then I'm going to pull back. Okay, we're ready to go. So trick number one, and I actually learned this on somebody else's live, so all credit to them. A sticky roller for your clothing. So we're going to use that. Let me grab my bottle. And I'm going to use this literally to hold my bottle. My bottle's not rolling. Super easy. Look at that. I am actually putting pressure. Very, very easy way to hold it. So no fancy mug holder needed or tumbler holder. Literally just that. Let's just close this. Jeez, being distracting. So now we're going to cut some of our transfer tape. Yeah, so as Zelda said, it's good standard practice across all materials, but especially necessary when removing paper materials from your mat, and that is removing your mat from your material. So very, very important. It will help your cardstock to not warp and not curl and look horrible, and also obviously not tear. So I just cut that too small. Okay, so I'm going to take the transfer tape. I did just stick that in our working spot, but it's okay. So we're going to stick this over. We're going to try not get bubbles. If you have a big bubble when you place the transfer tape, chances are you're going to have a bubble in the end result. Now we're going to get our scraper. We're going to scrape that down, and then we're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to scrape it. So this is the rolling method, and this is how I suggest transferring all vinyl. You may have some vinyl that is easier to transfer. I would rather just do all of it like this, so that if it doesn't transfer, I'm not doing double the work. So what you're going to do is you're going to curl this back as close to itself as you can, and you're going to kind of press down. So what you're doing is you're rolling the backing back on itself. If you see there's any pieces that didn't transfer, you press down and then roll back like so. So you're going to press down and roll. Very, very simple. Obviously slightly harder with your smart vinyl because it does have the thicker backing. So that's the hard part, is that the backing is thicker and it requires a little bit more force to actually push down on the backing. So why do I not just pull it up? What will happen is it puts a lot of pulling pressure when you just kind of pull up like that, and you can tear your vinyl, and it also probably won't stick. So we're just going to, and again I move with it, so you can see I'm kind of moving around, and the reason is I can see an angle that you can't. I can see how me rolling, they see me rolling, is putting undue pressure on my vinyl. So I want to work with the vinyl, I don't want to work against it. And there it is, sorted. Okay, so now we're going to be doing the wet method. So with the wet method, what you're going to do is you're going to take your solution that you have mixed, and you're going to spray your item. You obviously don't want to spray too much, but what this is going to do is it's going to give you a little bit of what do we call it, like a barrier that's going to stop your vinyl from immediately sticking, and you will be able to maneuver it if you have to. and then you will be able to get the bubbles out. So if you get a lot of bubbles in your vinyl, this is a great way to get rid of it. And you're going to want to push all of that water out from under your vinyl. You don't want it sitting under your vinyl, because then as you take the transfer tape off, it's going to lift. So you can see I'm just wiping it out, and that is why you want your dust-free cloth. This is great for larger applications. If you're doing stuff on somebody's car, you want to make sure it's 110% straight. With that, I would suggest using more of like a rubber squeegee to scrape it down, not your scraper. One thing to note is you will have to scrape a little bit harder than what you usually would, because you're now having to displace the water that is under it. Okay, so then we're going to remove our transfer tape. And again, we're going to use sort of the rolling method, so we're pulling it back on itself like so. And we're just going to go slowly because we have used the water method. We're just going to go slowly. You can see there I had a bubble, pushed it out, it was a bit of water. So we're going slowly so that if anything lifts, I can just stop and then just scrape it down again. Oopsie. There we are. So that is how you're going to get, number one, no bubbles with the wet method. It's very easy. You can see I've got a couple bubbles. That's because there's still water under it. So all I do is I gently push them out, and then I'm just dabbing it with my dust-free, it's actually a paper towel, it's not a cloth. Now we're going to add our oh wow, so Kim said, oh wow, all pet owners have those. Yes, we do, because pets really don't care if you have places to go or people to see. They will love you, and they will leave their fur on you. And I do have fur here. Okay, so we're just going to now add on our extra layers. So what I'm doing is on Design Space, I'm just making sure that I have my design in front of me, and that just helps me to know that I'm putting it on the right way. So you may have seen you get two different types of Cricut transfer tapes. You get strong grip and you get standard grip. So standard grip is for anything that is not textured. So any smooth vinyl is your standard grip, and any textured vinyl like your shimmers or your textured metallic, that is going to be the strong grip. Okay, so we're going to line this up. And don't be scared to do one at a time. If you can see that something is not looking 100% lined up, do one piece at a time. So you can see I'm putting one down, just pressing that down, and then coming back just to make sure everything's 100% aligned, because the light is shining in my eyes. And we're just going to go and we're going to repeat this for all of our pieces. Very, very simple. Give it a scrape from the back. And again, work with your vinyl, not against it. So you're going to see which way it wants to lift and which way it is fine with just being. Here we are. And you can see I am using my finger to press this down, and the reason for that is they're very small decals, so there's not a lot of space for air to get trapped. If you're working on something bigger, then I would definitely suggest using your scraper. And what you're going to do is when you put the decal down, you're not just going to plonk it down, you're going to put one side down and you're going to work all the bubbles out like so. Okay, so we want to start from a different side because it's not liking that side. There we are. And there we are. And again, just making sure we are properly lined up. It's a bit difficult for me to see. And our final piece. So I do hope that you found this class informative. I hope that it's going to help a lot of our newer members to feel more comfortable with their machines. If you still feel like you need some hands-on training, you need a little bit more assistance, there are really great beginner classes that are taught at experience zones across the country. They are very cheap, and I know that new machine users who bought their machine during a certain period are actually given a free class, which is really, really cool. And there you will be able to test all of these concepts with somebody there that can actually guide you, and you'll be able to try it out yourself, which is very, very helpful. So if you feel like you need more assistance, then I would definitely suggest joining one of those classes. And we also have our live online classes, which are completely free every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And they range from beginner to pro. We will be focusing a bit more on beginners during this period because we know that there are a lot of people who have just invested in their machines and may need a little bit more assistance. So I'm sure we can all remember we were beginners at one time, and we'd love to get everybody going on their journey. You can of course post on the Cricut Family South Africa Facebook page at any time with any questions that you have, and we do post a lot of tips and tricks that are very, very helpful. So here we have our final project. There we are. Very, very simple. And this will probably last a good couple months for my daughter, which is absolutely great. And it really wasn't difficult at all. So I did keep you a little bit over time. I do appreciate all of you bearing with me. I hope that I have helped in some small way with the tips and tricks that I've shared. And I am looking forward to next week's class. Thank you all and have a good evening.